tower number 1, and that is the only building
Building right now, Tommy. We're seeing.
On September 11, 2001, America was forever changed as nearly 3,000 lives were lost in a devastating attack on its soil. This day not only marked an act of terror, but also triggered a significant shift in the United States national security strategy. In this video, we will answer the question, how did the US national security strategy following 9/11 differ from the previous NSS's, and what effects did it have on America? Answering this question is important today due to external threats to the US, including those from proxy forces supported by foreign adversaries. Entangling alliances can make the US a target, and studying the NSS helps us understand how modern defense strategies have evolved and why the military acts as it does today. To start, what exactly is the national security strategy? Well, in 1986, according to Greenius, Congress passed the Goldwater-Nichols Act, which required the president to regularly put together a national security strategy to outline the president's vision and priorities regarding national security, while also addressing both urgent and potential threats to the United States. Take Reagan's 1987 NSS, for example. Its main focus was on countering the Soviet Union, emphasizing military deterrence, alliances, and containment. However, following the catastrophic events of 9/11, the NSS underwent foundational changes. In Bush's address to a joint session of Congress and the American people, just 9 days after the attack, he declared the beginning of a global war on terror, signaling a major shift in the United States national security strategy. We will not tire, we will not falter, and we will not fail. This commitment reflected the reality that the US was prepared for a prolonged conflict. The war on terror would eventually span decades, influencing global military strategies, intelligence operations, diplomatic policies, and the general public. Just a few months later, Bush's 2002 NSS introduced a doctrine that he addressed in his speech, shifting the focus from deterrence to preemption, and emphasizing the need to confront threats before they materialize.
We will come together to strengthen our intelligence capabilities to know the plans of terrorists before they act and to find them before they strike.
Reflecting the speech, here's what the 2002 National Security Strategy read. Given the goals of rogue states and terrorists, the United States can no longer solely rely on a reactive posture as we have in the past. We cannot let our enemies strike first. This marked a significant turning point where military intervention against potential threats became standard policy. Terms like the axis of evil define states like Iran, Iraq, and North Korea as potential threats, framing US foreign policy in terms of proactive engagement. Now, why were these changes deemed necessary? Not only was the government thrown into upheaval, but the attacks also invoked strong emotional responses, characterized by fear and anger among the American populace. Research by Huddy and Feldman show that individuals who perceived a national threat often supported aggressive security measures. This unease fueled public support for expansive policies like military intervention, the USA Patriot Act, and the creation of the Department of Homeland Security. The USA Patriot Act, in particular, allowed for increased surveillance and law enforcement powers, which many citizens at the time accepted as a necessary trade-off for security. These sweeping changes had both immediate and lasting impacts on US citizens. Immediately after 9/11, many Americans felt a collective urgency to protect their homeland. This led to significant public backing for military actions and heightened security measures. According to Giroux, this militarization seeped into various aspects of society, including education, leading to what's termed a biopolitics of militarization. Many universities began to receive military funding, effectively aligning themselves more closely with military interests and threatening their roles as areas for critical thought. Globally, the US expanded its military footprint significantly. The invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq were direct responses, fundamentally reshaping the Middle East. While these actions were intended to combat terrorism directly, they led to long-term conflicts, instability in various regions, and significant military spending. According to the Watson Institute, through 2022, the federal government spent or committed $8 trillion on conflicts in Afghanistan, Iraq, and elsewhere, largely financed through debt. These wars may have taken resources away from domestic priorities, things like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Together, these responses have created a legacy of financial and social costs that may persist for decades, significantly increasing the national debt and budget deficits. This, in turn, has contributed to higher consumer interest rates and placed a long-term financial burden on future generations, who could face an additional $6.5 trillion in interest payments by the 2050s. As Lawfulman points out in his article, which was published in the International Politics Journal in 2023, elements of the Bush Doctrine that support measures like these have persisted through subsequent administrations, reflecting a continuity of American exceptionalism and militarism, even under leaders like Obama and Trump. It cannot be denied that the national security strategy has gone through significant changes after the events that took place on September 11, 2001. These changes have marked many lasting impacts on the United States, such as the American Grand Strategy, the USA Patriot Act, and the financial and societal costs. Today, many of these responses seem to have contributed to unfavorable circumstances, such as an increase in surveillance, heavy financial burdens for future generations, and potentially the militarization of higher education. However, since 9/11, there has not been a single attack that has come remotely close in scale or fatalities. Now, we may never truly know the preventative effects of these changes, but it's clear. The post-9/11 national security strategy, for all its controversies and consequences, fundamentally reshaped the landscape of American security. It's left us to weigh the cost of security versus the price of freedom, and to continue asking ourselves, what balance are we willing to live with?